I've been getting a lot of questions about my love of Uni Posca paint pens. What do I use them for? How do they compare to some of the other pens that are out on the market? And so I'm going to walk you through just some of the pens that I've collected over the last couple of years, both markers and paint pens, and just give you my opinion. I'll tell you right now, I am an Uni Posca fan, and so my comments are probably going to be very biased, and there you go. I will start first with Copic markers. These are talked about quite a bit. Everybody wants them. I thought I wanted them at some point. And then after I got a few, I didn't understand what the fuss is about. They come in a couple of sizes. These are the Copic wides, and this is the pen that most people get. It has a chisel tip and a brush tip. And you can see it's just a marker and doesn't really do anything for me personally. What some folks like about them is that they blend really well, and you can buy, you know, 3 or 4 shades of the same kind of purple family and do, you know, shading and highlighting and stuff with it. I just find that in the way I work, I don't use markers that often. I'm much more of a fan of paint pens. And so the few that I have, I find that I do some, you know, graffiti writing, kind of in the background as a first layer to some of my work, and that's about all I use them for. I'm just really not a fan of them. So I would encourage you, whether you're buying anything like this or any of the other pens that I show you, to just pick up a couple. Maybe get a black, because, you know, like a pair of shoes or a dress, who doesn't need black? And 1 or 2 of your favorite colors, and see if it's something that you like, and then invest in a larger set. So when I was not sure that I really liked markers, but I wanted to try out some other brands, I picked up a few Prismacolors, which I actually don't even have anymore, and I picked up a few of the generic store brand from Utrecht, U-T-R-E-C-H-T. I buy these at the Utrecht store, and as you can see, they're double-ended. They're kind of like the Prismacolor markers, but they don't smell as bad as the Prismacolor markers. And they also have the chisel and the brush tip. These are on sale quite often, and I didn't buy a whole bunch of them because by the time I decided these were just fine for me, I decided I didn't like markers, so I didn't buy many of them. But what I did find is I really liked water-based paint pens, and I was you know, just really drawn to them instead. And Tisha Moore, if you see any of her videos or if you're a fan of hers, she uses the Sharpie water-based poster paint pens in a lot of her videos, and I can show you what those look like. You know, they're like a paint pen, so you shake them up and they've got that, you know, the ball inside that keeps the paint moving around. They're great. They're, you know, they're a good quality. They are expensive, and they don't come in that many colors. And I think at one point there was even rumor that they were going away at some point, so people started buying them up like crazy. They're fine. I have them in every color and a couple of sizes, and, you know, when I use them up, I probably won't buy them again, but if this is what you have access to, that would be a fine option for you. Some folks, when they're starting out, they will pick up, you know, the cheapy stuff. I did that too. And so instead of buying 2 or 3 of the Sharpie pens, I bought an entire box of the Craft Smart generic oil-based paint pens at Michael's, the craft store. And what I can tell you is it's got the ball in it, and it writes like a paint pen, but there's just something about them that I don't like. The oil-based is not the same as water-based. You don't, once it's dry, you can't do anything with it. It dries really fast. This right here floods with paint. It's very messy. The tips get ruined really quickly. They dry out. I just don't really enjoy them. So I wouldn't, if you've only picked up the oil-based paint markers or paint pens, I wouldn't use your experience with these as a tainting of your experience with any of the water-based paint pens. So some of the others that are out on the market are, well, let me stop here for a second. These are called Project Poppers. They're made by Elmer's, and they are kind of shimmery, and they're very watery, and they look to me more like a marker than a paint pen, but they were really cheap. I think I got them for like $2 on clearance at the craft store. And if you just want something to play around with in your art journal, I think these would be fine. I don't know in terms of the quality how long they'll last. I don't know if they're light fast or anything, so I wouldn't recommend putting them on any projects that you're going to, you know, potentially sell, because I don't know how long they would last. But if you just want a couple of colors and want to play, those might be fun to play with. So now moving on to the other water-based paint markers that are out on the market. There are a couple of other big names besides Sharpie. These are kind of the big three right now. So there's Sharpie poster paint. There's Montana acrylic water-based paint markers. And there are Molotow paint one for all, they're called. These two come in a crazy amount of colors. I believe some of them are refillable. And they are, this is a little bit bigger size than the Sharpie. I like them, they're fine, but they're not something I'm probably going to buy a lot of because they're really expensive. Like one pen is like $5 or $6. And these are also, I've only played with the Liquitex paint markers. And so these are comparable to the Liquitex paint markers. I don't own any of them. I've played with them and they seem very similar. They come in several sizes, different colors. And so if you want to spend a ton of money and you want to know that your paint is light, fast, and high quality and all of that, then I would, you know, encourage you to go in that direction. But for me, I want variety. I want a lot of colors. And so my love is the Uni Posca paint markers or paint pens. And Uni Posca gets a bad name because of this pen. This is the smallest pen that they carry. And when you write with them, if you write really fast, if you hit or bump into any kind of texture at all, it does this thing, I don't know if you can see that, where it kind of spurts and sputters. It kind of reminds me if like I was William Shakespeare back in the day writing with a feather. It, you know, it's very hard. The tip is very hard and scratchy, and I love it. I think it looks great. I think it adds a lot of character. But if you're one of those folks that really wants control of exactly where the paint goes, you're not going to be crazy about this pen. I have these in white and black, and I buy them 2 or 3 at a time, and I write with them quite a bit in my art journal, and I like the sputtering. So, but if this is why you're not liking Uni Posca, or if this is why you're not wanting to try them because you've heard bad things, it's because of this size. If you go up to the next sizes, the tip is much more like the others, so the Sharpie, Montana, and all of that. And there is no sputtering. It's just like a very soft-tipped marker. It's got the paintball in it, all of that. But the workhorses in my art supplies are the really big fat ones. These I love. They are the 8mm chisel-shaped. Basically the largest ones before you get the really big fat ones that they use to write on windows with. And what I like about them is how juicy they are. It's like paint in a tube. They come in a ton of colors. They're fairly inexpensive. And you can find them on sale a lot online. And if you buy all the different colors and you buy, I usually buy 2 or 3 whites and 2 or 3 blacks for every time I refill these, and I've done these a couple times now, or excuse me, not refill, replace. And the reason for that is the white you can use to blend and pick up color and actually change the color of it, and then I clean it off quite a bit, and that's why I have this scrap paper underneath, because I'll use this for other things. And the same thing with the light orange peachy color. You can use it, and I've even, this is a cruddy piece of paper, so you're seeing some stuff, but I use this light orange shade for kind of my generic Caucasian flesh tone. They also have a beige that's really nice. It's a little bit more olive for more like Latino or Asian tones, and then I use a combination of their brown and this shade to get more of an African-based skin tone. But they're just beautiful, and I have several videos where you can see how I paint with the Uni Poscas. I use my fingers quite a bit. They're non-toxic. And if you want to be really inspired, you can go online and look for an artist by the name of Drew Brophy, D-R-E-W-B-R-O-P-H-Y. He's a surfboard artist who does really fun, poppy, crazy art on surfboards and motorcycles and the sides of a van and skateboards, and it's just really cool and fun. And so I'm very inspired by his work and enjoy using the Uni Poscas. Plus they're very affordable and I can buy a lot of them, which I like because I use them quite a bit. And then Uni Posca also has a few kind of specialty pens, and I just want to walk you through those really quickly. This is their brush pen, which I'm not a huge fan of. I think they're very expensive and not all that great, but let me walk you through it anyway. On the back end there is a button you push to release the ink, and it flows into this brush tip. And you know, it's fine for what it is. It's got a very soft tip that you can kind of write with. But for the price, I just don't reach for it very often, and I probably, when this one runs out, I won't reorder it. And I have this in black and white, and if you're doing any kind of like Tracy Bautista style doodling, you might want to play with these, but for the price, I just assume use ink and a brush. And then they have a metallic line, which they're fine. They have a they feel very old-fashioned to me, kind of like those, I don't know if you remember when you were a kid, your parents might have had like one marker that was gold or silver, and it was kind of weird, like a green gold or a green silver, and it felt like there was a metallic underlay and then a little bit of color on top. That's what these feel like. They're not very bright or pretty. I don't like them. And again, once those run out, I probably won't pick them back up. But the Uni Posca glitter pens are fun. They're really pretty. And I don't know if you can see, maybe if I give it a big wash of color, you can see it. They are the girliest, glitteriest pens. They're really pretty. And I don't know if you can see that shimmer at all. But they are just fun. I really like them. And again, they're very inexpensive, just like the other Uni Poscas. And then I'll just flip it over and show you. This is a really thin piece of, you know, it's like barely more than construction paper. The Copics and the Utrecht paint, or excuse me, the markers bled through quite a bit. Any of the, let's see, which one was that one? The Sharpie, or excuse me, the oil-based bled through. And then some of these, they didn't bleed through. You can see through the paper because it's so thin. I applied the Uni Posca paint very heavy and it started to seep through. But for the most part, the oil, or excuse me, the water-based pens don't really bleed through. They kind of stay on top of the paper. And so there you go. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section, and I'll do a follow-up video in the future to answer those additional questions that I keep getting. Okay, thanks so much for watching.